What if you discovered that everything you believed about your life, your goals, fears, even your sense of self, was only a shadow on the cave wall? What if the truth you were living wasn't really yours, but something inherited, copied, or imposed? In this video, we're going on a journey not just through ideas, but through the terrain of your inner world. If you stay till the end, you might not see reality the same way again. You might even find a truth worth living and dying for.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
From the moment we're born, we're thrust into a world of noise, expectations, traditions, identities. These are handed to us before we even know how to speak. We grow up thinking we're choosing our paths, when in fact, most of us are just reacting to what has already been chosen for us. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Think about that. How much of your life is truly yours? How much of it is inherited programming? The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The thing is to find a truth which is true for me, to find the idea for which I can live and die." Not just any truth, not a borrowed belief, not a viral idea, not a motivational quote you saw on Instagram. A truth that pierces through the fog of the world and strikes your soul with such clarity that you know this is it. But how do you find it? Where do you even begin? You begin by turning inward. But here's the catch: when you first look within, you don't find truth. You find confusion, fear, chaos. You find the voices of your parents, your culture, your past selves, all shouting over each other. It feels like jumping into a storm. And yet, this storm holds the key. Jung said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." You must be willing to face that inner storm if you want to awaken. Imagine being in a dark cave your whole life. You only see flickering shadows cast on the wall, and you assume these shadows are reality. This is Plato's allegory of the cave. Now imagine being dragged out of the cave into the blinding sunlight. It hurts. It's terrifying. Your first instinct is to run back. But if you stay, your eyes adjust. You start to see what's real. That's what happens when you start seeing through illusions, through your ego, your traumas, your projections. Why do we cling to illusions? Because they protect us. Believing that life has no purpose, for example, can be a defense. It shields us from the pain of not yet having found our own purpose. We reject meaning not because it doesn't exist, but because we're afraid of what it demands of us. Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But having a why is terrifying. It requires responsibility. It means you can no longer blame the world. You have to own your path. So ask yourself, what is your why? And more importantly, did you choose it or did it choose you? The truth one can live and die for is not something you invent. It is something that reveals itself to you slowly as you strip away everything that you are not. It's like carving a statue from marble. The form is already there. Your job is to chisel away the unnecessary. And that process hurts. You lose relationships. You let go of dreams that aren't really yours. You confront your shadow, the parts of you you'd rather not see. Carl Jung described the shadow as the unknown dark side of the personality. Integrating it is not optional, it's necessary. Because if you don't face your shadow, It controls you from the dark. You project it onto others. You see evil, stupidity, or weakness everywhere except in yourself. But when you finally turn inward and meet this hidden self, something incredible happens. You reclaim power. You begin to see clearly. We are not blank slates. We are born with archetypes, primordial images, patterns of experience that repeat across cultures and time. The hero, the mother, the trickster, the wise old man. These are not just characters in stories. They live in you. They shape how you dream, how you love, how you suffer. And they are trying to guide you, not toward comfort, but toward wholeness, toward truth. Take the hero's journey. It begins with a call, a sense that something is missing. Most people ignore the call. It's inconvenient. It threatens the status quo. But if you answer it, the road opens. You face trials, meet mentors, descend into darkness, and emerge transformed. Joseph Campbell said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." What cave are you avoiding? What fear is secretly running your life? Many people think they're awake, but they're only dreaming a different dream. They swap one illusion for another. They go from religion to atheism, from capitalism to minimalism, from one identity to the next, but never stop to ask, who is the one changing masks? Who is the one watching all this unfold? To find a truth worth dying for, you have to find the one who is watching. The silent witness within you. The unchanging presence behind your thoughts, your emotions, your roles. This isn't philosophy. This is direct experience. You felt it in moments of awe, in grief, in stillness. That presence is closer to you than your breath. It has no name, but it is more real than any belief. And yet, the mind will resist this. It wants certainty, labels, categories. But truth is not a concept. It is an encounter. When Neo takes the red pill in the Matrix, he asks, "Why do my eyes hurt?" Morpheus replies, "Because you've never used them before." That's what truth does. It burns at first. It breaks your illusions, and then it sets you free. But freedom is not comfort. It's responsibility. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does." Once you see the truth, you can no longer pretend. You can no longer blame your parents, your past, or the system. You must act. You must choose. And that's both terrifying and liberating. This is why many turn back. They'd rather live a comfortable lie than a difficult truth. But if you're watching this, maybe you're not one of them. Maybe something deep inside you is ready to confront the illusions, to walk into the unknown, to suffer for something real. Not because suffering is noble, but because it's inevitable. So why not suffer for a purpose? Even early humans, long before formal religion, instinctively performed burial rituals. In Kafaze Cave, a child was buried with deer antlers. Red ochre was used in funerals. These were not acts of logic. They were instinctual expressions of reverence, of mystery. Our ancestors didn't have theories of the soul, but they knew something sacred was happening. That knowledge came from the archetypes within. We are not separate from nature. We are nature becoming aware of itself. The psyche is not a product of culture, it is its foundation. Myths, religions, philosophies, they are not inventions. They are revelations. They are attempts to interpret the deep patterns of the soul. That's why they persist, even when cultures collapse. Because they speak to something eternal in us. But here's the trap, mistaking the symbol for the truth it points to. A myth is a map, not the territory. A religion is a raft, not the shore. If you cling to the form and forget the essence, you lose the meaning. As Alan Watts said, you cannot get wet from the word water. Don't worship the symbol. Seek the experience. So here's the question again. What is the truth you can live and die for? It won't be handed to you. No guru, no book, no video can give it to you. But they can point. They can whisper. They can shake you awake. And once you begin the search, once you sincerely ask the question, life itself becomes your teacher. Every dream, every heartbreak, every coincidence becomes part of the unfolding. You begin to notice synchronicities, those uncanny moments that feel like the universe is winking at you. You have visions, dreams, strange encounters. These are not random. They are messages from the deeper layers of your being. Jung believed that in our sleep, we consult the 2 million-year-old self, which each of us represents. That ancient self is still here, waiting to be heard. So many people today are lost not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they have never truly asked themselves the most important question, but what is worth living and dying for? Without this question burning at the center of your life, everything else becomes noise. You can achieve success, fall in love, travel the world, but still feel that deep, aching emptiness. We try to fill that void with distractions, work, entertainment, even spirituality, but the void remains because it is not asking to be filled. It is asking to be faced. When you face it, when you look directly into the void, you begin the real journey. And yes, it's terrifying. The ego doesn't want this journey. It wants control, safety, and approval. But the soul wants the truth. The soul longs for something eternal, something that cannot be taken away by time, loss, or death. And that longing is your compass. It will lead you through darkness, through silence, through madness if it has to. But it will lead you home. Most people think finding purpose is about choosing something to believe in. But belief is not enough. Belief without experience is hollow. You don't need more beliefs. You need direct encounters with what is real, with what breaks you and puts you back together, but with what humbles you beyond words, with what makes you fall to your knees, not out of fear, but out of awe. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment so deep you couldn't explain it to anyone? That's where your truth lies. Nietzsche wrote, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." Why walking? Because movement creates space. When you walk alone, especially in nature, the mind slows down. The noise fades. You begin to hear the deeper voice within. And that voice doesn't speak in language. It speaks in symbols, in images, in feelings. It whispers through dreams, through intuition, through the strange coincidences you usually ignore. Pay attention. These are your soul's breadcrumbs. Now here's the paradox. The truth you can live and die for is both universal and deeply personal. It is not just yours. It belongs to humanity. And yet, no one else can find it for you. This is the tension you must live in. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who your parents wanted you to be, not who society rewards, but the unique expression of the infinite that only you can be." But becoming who you are is not about self-improvement. It's about self-revelation. You don't build your soul like a project. You uncover it, you remember it, you return to it. And to do that, you must go through the fire of doubt, the fire of failure, the fire of losing everything you thought mattered. Because only in that fire can the false be burned away. Only then can the real emerge. There is a moment in every deep transformation when you feel completely alone. Like the old world has collapsed, but the new world hasn't arrived yet. This is the liminal space, the in-between. It can last for days, months, sometimes years. And it's where most people give up. But if you can stay in it, if you can resist the urge to escape, you will be transformed. Not by force, but by grace. Not by answers, but by surrender. You will start to see that life is not random. That everything, every heartbreak, every failure, every loss was preparing you. Every moment was a teacher in disguise. The pain wasn't punishment. It was initiation. It was asking you, will you wake up? Will you remember who you are? And then, slowly, you begin to see the patterns. You begin to align with something greater. Your life becomes a myth in motion. You're no longer just surviving, you're embodying a story far older than your name. This is not fantasy. This is the truth that myths were pointing to all along. The hero's journey, the death and rebirth, the descent into the underworld. These are not just stories. They are blueprints of transformation encoded in your psyche. So what does it look like to live this truth? It looks like living with integrity, even when no one is watching. It looks like saying no to success if it costs your soul. It looks like letting go of people who don't see the real you. It looks like following your intuition, even when it makes no sense. It looks like being willing to lose everything that is false in order to find what is real. And it's not glamorous. It won't always be Instagrammable. Sometimes it will feel like death. Because part of you is dying the false self, the mask, the persona you built to survive. But on the other side of that death is freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to become who you really are. To live your truth without apology, and to love without fear, to serve without ego. This is not about being perfect. It's about being whole. Wholeness includes your flaws, your wounds, your darkness. It includes your doubts and your dreams. Jung said, "I'd rather be whole than good," because goodness without wholeness is just a performance. But wholeness includes everything, and in that wholeness you find peace. You begin to realize that the truth you can live and die for is not an idea. It's a state of being. It's a way of living where every moment is sacred, where you no longer need certainty because you found trust. Not blind faith, but a deep inner knowing. A connection to something greater than your mind can grasp, but your soul remembers. and that changes everything. You stop chasing happiness and start cultivating meaning. You stop avoiding pain and start learning from it. You stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I give?" Because when you live your truth, your life becomes medicine for others. Not by preaching, but by being. Your presence becomes a lighthouse. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And here's the most mysterious part. The more you live this truth, the more life responds. The right people appear. The right opportunities unfold. Synchronicities multiply. It's like the universe recognizes your alignment and begins to align with you. Not because you're manifesting it, but because you've become congruent. Your inner and outer worlds begin to mirror each other. But it's not always easy. You will be tested. Life will ask you again and again, are you sure? Are you willing to lose comfort for truth? Are you willing to be misunderstood, to walk alone? And every time you say yes, you grow stronger. Not in ego, but in soul. Not in knowledge, but in wisdom. You begin to see that everything is interconnected, that your pain is not separate from the world's pain, that your healing contributes to the collective, that your awakening ripples outward in ways you may never see. That's why this matters. This is not just your journey. It's ours. Humanity is starving for realness, for depth, for people who are willing to go all the way. So I ask you now, with all sincerity, what are you waiting for? You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Begin by asking the question. Begin by listening. Begin by being honest, radically honest with yourself. What are you pretending not to know? What truth have you been avoiding? What would you do if you weren't afraid? And know this, you are not alone. Others have walked this path. They've faced the darkness. They've come through the fire. And their wisdom is here, waiting for you. In books, in dreams, in silence. You don't need a guru. You need the courage to trust yourself, to walk your own path, to become the hero of your own myth. Because the truth one can live and die for is not out there. It's inside you, waiting, calling, burning. There is a moment in every true seeker's life when the silence becomes so loud, it drowns out the world. In that silence, the screaming of the soul is finally heard. And what it cries out for is not success, not safety, not even happiness, but truth. Not the kind of truth that wins debates or earns applause, the kind that reforms your bones, the kind that burns everything false in you and leaves only what was always real. The kind that once seen you cannot unsee. And yet, most of us run from this moment. We sense it coming, and we distract ourselves. We scroll, we shop, we chase another goal. But deep down we know something essential is missing. That we are living lives that do not feel fully ours. That we are wearing masks so tightly that we've forgotten how our own face feels. So I ask you now, what mask are you still afraid to remove? When you finally take it off, when you surrender the image, the performance, the need to be liked, you come face to face with raw being, with the naked self, and it's terrifying. Because in that moment, you realize just how much of your life has been built on fear. Fear of rejection, of failure, of being truly seen. But it's also liberating, because now for the first time you can begin again, not from a place of fear, but from truth. And this is where life starts to shift. Your relationships change. Your values change. Even your definition of success changes. No longer is it about accumulation or validation. It becomes about alignment. Are you living in alignment with the truth that has found you? Are you willing to pay the price for authenticity? Let's be honest, there is a price. Living your truth means disappointing people. It means walking away from familiar spaces. It means being misunderstood, even ridiculed. But what's worse? Living a lie for decades just to avoid discomfort, or walking through the fire once and emerging free. Carl Jung captured this in a powerful image. He said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." But it's not just children who suffer. We all carry the weight of unlived lives, dreams denied, truths ignored, gifts buried. Every time you silence your intuition, every time you betray your knowing, you add to that burden. But every time you speak your truth, you lighten it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Because here's the secret most people miss. Your truth is not just about you. It's about all of us. When you live your truth, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living invitation, a mirror, a spark. And in a world choked by conformity, that is a revolutionary act. But how do you stay anchored in your truth when the world pulls you in every direction? You practice. You build inner rituals, stillness, solitude, journaling, walking, dream work. You learn to listen not to the noise, but to the whisper beneath it. You learn to trust that whisper, to follow it even when it leads into the unknown. You stop asking for guarantees and start walking by faith, not blind belief, but embodied trust. You understand that life isn't happening to you or for you, it's happening through you. You are not a passive receiver. You are an active participant in the unfolding of truth. And the more you participate, the more alive you feel, the more real life becomes. And yes, you will fall. You will forget. You will get pulled back into the old patterns. That's okay. The path is not a straight line. It spirals. It circles back. But every time you return to yourself, you return with more wisdom, more humility, more depth. You begin to see even your failures as part of the truth. Not obstacles, but initiations. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are. Not who others want you to be. Not who your past says you are, but who you already are beneath the noise." This is not self-help. This is soul remembrance. And it requires everything. Your courage, your heartbreak, your willingness to stand alone in the wilderness of your own becoming. Are you willing? Because if you are, something ancient awakens in you. Something wild, something sacred. You begin to feel the pulse of life moving through you. You begin to dream with your eyes open. You begin to embody what Jung called the self, not the ego, but the totality of who you are. Conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, human and divine. And in this state, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing death, not because you've conquered it, but because you've made peace with it. You realize that death is not the opposite of life, it's the completion of it. And when you live your truth fully, death loses its sting, because what you are cannot die. Only the false dies. Only the mask. The truth remains. That's why early humans buried their dead with care, with antlers, ochre, tools. They knew, without needing theology, that something sacred had passed through that body. Something beyond explanation. Something eternal. And you carry that same sacredness right now, in this moment. You are not separate from the mystery. You are the mystery, becoming aware of itself. The truth one can live and die for is not hidden in books or lectures. It's in your breath, your tears, your longings. It's in the moments you feel most alive, most broken, most real. It's in the eyes of someone who sees you. It's in the silence between your thoughts. It's in the choice you make when no one is watching. So how do you know you found it? You don't need to ask. You just know. It hits you like lightning. It humbles you. It electrifies you. It makes you weep with joy and terror and awe. And it gives you a clarity that no argument can shake. You may not be able to explain it, but you would die for it. And more importantly, you will live for it. And when you live for it, you become unstoppable. Not in the way the world defines power, but in the way the soul does. You become rooted, centered, unshakable. The winds of life may howl, but you no longer sway, because you are grounded in what is real, and no one can take that from you. That is the prize. That is the payoff. Not fame, not wealth, not comfort, but peace. The peace that comes from living in integrity with your soul. The peace that lets you sleep at night knowing you did not betray yourself. The peace of knowing that, even if your life ends tomorrow, you lived it truly. And in a world that is starving for truth, that peace is the rarest treasure. So I leave you with this final question, one that only you can answer, one that may change everything. What is the truth you would live and die for? Don't rush it. Don't force it. Let it find you. And when it does, when it knocks on the door of your heart, open it. Say yes. Step through. Even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles, because this is your life, your one wild, sacred, irrepeatable life. And the world doesn't need more copies. It needs the real you, and only the truth can set you free. Now go, live it,